Leafs Talk, JD Bunkis, Sam McKee. Last Leafs Talk for a couple of weeks. We got a break. And guess who knew it?
Who?
The Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, yeah.
They were painfully aware.
I was all ready to come on here and be like, the narrative that the Stars, they knew they were still playing and they knew they still had to play. And, they're not going for a break. And then they're like, wow, let's take a quick break before we start. Before we start the next tournament here. But yeah, bit of a dog's breakfast of a hockey game tonight.
Yeah, that was not a good game. That was a really lackluster performance. I actually really pitied the Leaf fans that went to that one. Like, you wish you probably went to the Calgary game or the Edmonton game.
Made the trip down to the old Seattle.
Yeah, just drive down to the watch in the Kraken's barn because you did not get your money's worth in that one. But I was actually thinking, I felt as though some of the Stars looked a little timid tonight. And I wonder if the news of injuries was getting in guys' heads and if they thought, just get healthy to the break. Because didn't it feel a little preseason-y in terms of the compete for large stretches of this game to you?
I thought a lot of the guys in the Canucks were going pretty hard.
Yeah.
I thought Kiefer Sherwood. Was it Kiefer Sherwood? That's right.
Yeah. He always goes hard though. That guy's not preparing for the Four Nations tournament.
I thought
OEL nailed him.
Yeah, Filipino was running around. I think that Drew O'Connor, the new guys they have on their team, you could definitely tell that they've breathed some new life into their team and some new energy because it felt like those guys are really going hard. But yeah, I could see a little bit of that. I'm not sure. I guess these guys are pretty excited about playing this best on best. But there's been a lot of people criticizing this tournament coming up, but maybe that's not the players, whatever. We don't need to get into it, but I didn't really think of it from that perspective when I'm watching the game, but now looking back on it with that set of eyes, I think that's actually a pretty salient point that there wasn't a ton of, wasn't quite a no-hitter, but there was definitely some, hey, I want to go to Cabo and I want to play that nice golf course and I don't want to have a bum ankle. And the other guys are like, hey, I want to play in this tournament coming up here. There definitely was a little bit of that, at least on the Leaf side, in my opinion.
I just didn't feel like the Leaf Stars
last game of a trip, big break coming up. Like, there's definitely a spot for them to let down.
I just thought that the Leaf Stars tonight in particular were pretty lackluster. Like, Nylander gets a few breaks, right? He's always going to do that. Mm-hmm. I'm not. You and I weren't really sure what happened on the breakaway with him. You thought he just lost the puck, that he looked down for a second, lost it. I wondered if he was going for the no move. If he was trying to get cute with it, but he has his couple opportunities. He had a wrist shot that, gets stopped and was close. So he had a few chances. Matthews, I thought, was pretty solid in the first, minus a bad clear that led to the first goal. But yeah, I just overall did not really feel the impact of the second line tonight. Wasn't like the first line was overly threatening with Matthews, but I wanted to ask you if you feel like there's any chemistry there so far, because one thing I did notice tonight is Marner and Nylander, like, you're used to seeing one of those two guys be the transporter often, right? And it didn't really feel like those two guys are clicking. I don't know if they can eventually be a line. I still want to see more of Matthews without Mitch Marner, but ultimately I do think that at some point they're going to have to look at them all spread out. But the case for it is going to be built on whether those two guys can play together. And tonight was not a really good example for them if they wanted to stick together.
Yeah, they've had the 2 games here now, and I don't think they've really been very good at all through the 2 games. They even got broke up tonight. They go back to Marner and Matthews in the third period, which is pretty predictable. Yeah. I don't think it works. It's just too much on one line. I don't think Marner and Nylander are complementary players. They're both puck carriers, like you alluded to. They're both guys that kind of, want to have the puck on their stick a lot. And I don't think having them on the opposite wings, Nylander playing on the offside, feels like they're tripping over each other a lot out there.
Yeah, that's what I feel.
It's just, and even in the third period there, Tavares and Nylander play together a lot, but like they're getting in each other's way. I don't think that there's a ton of chemistry there, and they're clearly doing this to try to get to shoehorn Max Domi into this top 6 to try to get any value on the contract that they signed him to in the offseason. They're trying to shoehorn him. It's not working. But yeah, I think when we come out of this 2-week break, the first practice that we see, well, I guess the first practice, Matthews and Marner probably won't be there because they'll still be at the Four Nations. But I think if they're both in the final, which we're all hoping they are, I think you'll just see the Matthews and Marner go back together. Until they make a trade, until they bring somebody out of the organization in here, this doesn't work.
You can tell Domi's trying to shoot it a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I actually want to see more of Domi up with Matthews. Like he did it last year. There is proof of concept with that line. And I haven't felt like, again, tonight, I didn't think that they were overly punishing, but I also didn't think that they were terrible. Like I didn't look at the Matthews line and say, wow, they're just an absolute nothing burger out there. I thought Matthews made some good defensive plays. I just think that he has a bit of a more direct style. I like that he's more involved with the entries. I like that he operates a little bit more as a playmaker, but still maintains his aggressive nature. You saw it especially early where he was getting some good chances, some good looks at the net, and was not obviously passing any of them up. Domi still has the playmaking ability to find him and do a little bit of that play on the outside and set Matthews up. To me, it's really is a matter of the thing with the third line center is that you could put a line with McMahon, Nylander, and a third line center. And that's the real breaker for this team, because I know that Tavares and Marner have chemistry together. Like I just do. And ultimately, I know Marner and Matthews can play together. That's never been a question about this team. I think that I was thinking about this a lot today, especially, sorry, last couple of days with all the ranting and stuff. Like you see Nietzsche just tearing it up right now in Colorado because he's getting an opportunity with McKinnon, and Rantanen's really struggling. And I know he's hurt. He missed the last game, but it just has me thinking, like, don't you just want to see for an extended period of time what it looks like with Austin Matthews trying to drive his own line? I hope that they stick with it coming to the break. But what you said is, I feel like they're probably going to go back to it.
There's just, there's very, very, and we've asked for it a million times on these shows for them to do 3 separate lines for these guys. And they are so hesitant to do it. And they've done it where they've put, Tavares as a third line center when Ryan O'Reilly was here, and they've tried to do like that sort of thing, but they're just really hesitant to do it. And if you're going to not put them on 3 separate lines, the only way to do it is Matthews and Marner, Nylander, Tavares, or Nylander and Matthews and Tavares and Marner. Like that's the big switch you can make, because
that's what I'm talking about this game though, like to tie it back to kind of not get too big picture with it. But like that was the disappointing part of seeing the experiment of this second line, is that it didn't have any chemistry. It didn't have any juice. You said the tripping all over each other thing. Yeah. That's bang on, dude.
It was straight. Like they did that in Seattle too. They were all like, they were not good at all. The top 6 really wasn't that great at all in that game either. And they're all over each other's heels. It feels like they're trying to fight for the same pucks. They're trying to fight for the same parts of the ice. They look like 3 guys that have been, dominant players on their own lines trying to play together. It's just not, it's not a good mix. And I just
really noticed it in the neutral zone, especially, right? Where it's like they're collecting pucks, and there were multiple moments where it was Marner and Nylander both like going to it, being like, so sorry. Oh no. It's like 2 people going to the door at the same time. Like, no, after you. Like that's kind of them.
Deferring.
When they're trying to figure out who's
all-star game. It's all-star game energy, where there's 3 guys that are just trying to pass to each other over and over and over and over again. And they don't know where they're supposed to go, and they don't know their roles in the line. And maybe if you keep hammering away here with it for a longer stretch after the break, and you really try to make it work, maybe potentially it can start to gain some legs, and the guys can get used to playing with each other. But it just looks like 3 guys that have no idea what the hell any of them do when they're playing together. It's a weird mix. So we'll see what happens. Got a long time to think about it and talk about it here, but I didn't like it at all.
Well, again, like I know this is just a post-game show, but I just thought that this game was such an obvious what you need at the deadline game, because to have the option to split up the talent centers around getting that third line center. And then the other thing that I wanted to get to from this game is, boy, you're really starting to see the sore spots of the depth on the blue line start to show up here. And I know that they had just won a couple of games in a row, but yeesh, Benoit and Myers, it's not pretty, buddy. And it's it's not good when you and I are texting back and forth going, have they been out there all game? Because every one of their shifts feels long, because they're in the D zone making mistakes and losing battles and failing clears and getting out of position. There were just so many times tonight where I'm marking, why is Benoit where he is? And even on the power play goal against, it's like, why is he playing up high like that? Where is he with the support by the side of the net? Myers, multiple moments in this game where he's jumping up in the rush, getting horned up, and you're like, buddy, your whole thing is to be kind of stay at home and safe. Why are you making mistakes? They got to address that too. It's like third line center, somebody to help them on the back end that is playable when it comes to their depth. Like the two sore spots could not have been more apparent for this team tonight.
Yeah, it's almost, top 6 is good, top 4 is good, and then everybody else is not very good. Yeah. That's kind of this team where like I trust the top 4 kind of, Riley's been better here, and at least that
look better on his other side too.
And at least it's in there with Riley. There's something you can dig down deep for potentially, and it's looked good on this trip where he's gotten away from the 8 kids in his no electricity house where he's been able to sleep at night here finally. But I've talked a lot about Myers. I made my jokes about Myers Island, but like they're screaming out for an upgrade at multiple positions. And I don't know if they'll be able, are they going to be able to really upgrade it? Like, are they really going to, with what they have to trade? Dude,
I think the blue line is actually the easiest part to upgrade because you recall, like Tree Living last year got Edmondson and I
actually really liked Edmondson last
year.
Yeah,
of course. But that's what I'm saying is you can kind of grab those guys for the draft pick capital that the Leafs actually have, right? Those kind of depth blue liners that are there, final hours of the draft, expiring contracts, old with teams that are rebuilding. They're just available every year. You've seen the Leafs do it year over year over year. They grab a Polak. Labushkin, like they're kind of a dime a dozen in the league, and that's really what Toronto needs right now is just a couple of guys that play with some kind of identity. I would say it's pretty disappointing that what has happened to Benoit recently. Like I just feel like his game has gotten so much more scrambly. It feels like he's losing more puck battles than he's winning, which was kind of the one staple of his game was that he could pin you to the boards and win one. And he just feels like he's lost out in space far too often. And we've been talking about it. The chart guys, I don't really blame him on that goal, by the way. We just showed the highlight of it. That to me is more bad clear by Matthews, just kind of a soft play where he didn't want to take a hit. And then Nyes falls asleep and lets his man beat him backdoor. Like it's point man that creeps down. So sucks that those guys are on the ice for that. But either way, to wrap up the point, I feel like they're lost way too often. And I think if you just get some kind of veteran guys in there that are going to be able to play like a stay-at-home game, you're not asking them to play 20 minutes a night. You're asking them to be serviceable for 12, 13. And I just don't think that's what you're getting from the bottom guys right now.
You go back to last year when Benoit was really good. And then it's like, who was playing with? Oh, he was playing with Jake McCabe. It's like maybe old Benoit can be like, hey buddy, I thank you very much for the money. Like that was my worst French accent I could have ever done, but
we don't need Glass Onion 3 for figuring out that mystery of why he was good then.
Yeah. It's like, I kind of figured out there that he played. I don't know. Maybe that's something you try. I don't want to tether McCabe back to him, but I don't know. I just, they need to upgrade, but you're like, oh, the Leafs need a 3C and a depth defenseman and some scoring. But then it's like every single team needs the exact same thing.
But the thing is, I don't even think that they need, like people talk about the wingers and stuff. It's like you saw Pacioretty get slotted properly tonight on the fourth line. And I thought that was a positive where you look at him now and you go, hey man, he can play a heavy game and he's solid. I don't know this one, but getting a comment in here, disagree with JD, our forwards were weak defensively. It's like, I don't know when I made the point otherwise. So anyway, I lost my thought. I looked at the chat.
Oh, never look at the chat, bro.
Yeah. Looked at the chat. I was like, wait, what are these? And I was like,
Luke.
I got more distracted because I was like, when did I make that
Luke
point?
Are guilty conscience, boys. I get it, bro. You don't have to apologize.
Remember the point. The point is simply, it's like, if they can just add someone who is credible on the third line, it gives them just different options to use the actual players they have and slot them the right way. Yeah. Like all of a sudden you can ask for something a little bit more to Domi, or you can do the Nylander McMahon idea that I've been talking about. Yeah. Like it just gives you so much more flexibility having a different pivot there that I really believe that it balances out a lot of the talent that you have. It also knocks someone off the roster that shouldn't really be playing in the NHL, which is probably at this point Pontus Holmberg, even though, again, he's the penalty drawing machine. And then with the blue line, it's the same thing. It's like, it's mostly good. You've got the most important things working out for you. It's just a couple of minor upgrades for you are going to make a big difference for this team. And that's why I'm advocating for them to make the buys.
You're looking for somebody who's going to be able to give you 12 to 13 capable playoff minutes, because the top 4 is set, right?
Yeah, that's it.
That's what you're looking for. So hopefully they can find it. And yeah, I'm really impressed with the way Riley's looked on this trip. And I think that's, if there's anything outside of the 6 points they got out of the 8 possible on this trip, I think the most positive thing to me was the improvement of Morgan Riley. And he was decisive again tonight, flying up and down the ice. I mean, he's still got a muffin. Let's be honest. He just still doesn't shoot.
That's never going to change.
He's never going to shoot it hard, but he ends up finding the back of the net here in his hometown. He's got his parents in the building. You love to see that. Guy that's been taking an absolute beating from guys like us, guys like everybody. He's been the number 1 whipping boy. And it's nice to see him have a good trip where he was a positive contributor to the team. And I really liked his game tonight again. And him and Ekman Larsson really good again tonight, I thought.
Yep.
Like just solid defensively, like good along the boards, way greasier and stronger than I thought he was when he was coming in here. Just got the offensive instincts that if you need it, he makes a good play on the Riley goal. I've been impressed with him, and they're getting good value on that contract that they signed him to. Like,
so
it's almost like it's maybe the perfect number to give that guy. Like, he's giving them exactly the value on that, because he's been down, he's been up.
Yep.
Like, he's had some stretches where he hasn't been as great, but recently he's been trending in the right direction. And for me, Riley and him are 2 guys that a break is going to be really great for, where there's just like, they had a good trip. They get to go, do whatever they're going to do. And then they're going to come back maybe a little bit rejuvenated. I like both their games tonight.
I agree with you on Riley. And I think that Riley's taking a step forward has made it look like OEL is easier on his offside.
Yeah.
That it's a big component of it when he doesn't feel as under duress of trying to get the puck out of the zone on his backhand as before. But I got to tell you too, with OEL, it's a pretty good sign of confidence that they put him out there to score that goal at the end of the period with the power play. And then they also throw him over the boards when they're going 6-on-4, 6-on-5 as a guy to make decisions out there as well. Like that's the trust
his decision making. They do.
Yeah, they trust his decision making, and they like the way that he moves the puck. And if you look at that power play goal, I actually like this from all the Leafs because they played with a ton of aggression. They didn't just go to sleep saying, we blew it, it's the end of the period, whatever. You had an offensive zone draw, you win it. And they played with a ton of force, probably one of their better moments of the entire game, if we're being honest. And they kind of catch Vancouver a bit asleep at the wheel. And OEL makes a beautiful patient play. Like, I think if you look at this on the Riley goal, I think a lot of guys just kind of make a bit of a rush play there. And that's the difference with having a veteran puck-moving defenseman, is that he's not under duress in that moment. Like, how many seconds are on the clock here? Like 3, 4, 5 seconds? Yeah. Like
0 panic there.
Yeah, no panic. Just knows how much time's on the clock. Make sure that he collects the puck and makes a nice little pass right on Morgan Riley's tape. Goal. Love that play from OEL. Like his play a lot recently. And yeah, good momentum for those 2, like you said, going to the break.
Yeah. And it's nice to see his parents got, you and I, buddy, suckers for parent clip. The parent shots are our favorite. It's nice to see. So
it's a real reminder that they are just still playing a kid's game though.
Yeah.
Like,
yes, son. Way to go, son.
Yeah. It's like Morgan Riley has a kid. He's in his 30s. It's like his parents are still there. Like, that's our boy. That's our little boy out there skating around, playing hockey.
I really hope those big, mean Vancouver fans weren't mean to them there. I hope they weren't like catching any vitriol from those big meanies. Do you have any more big picture stuff from the game?
Don't know. I'll just pull up the notes. I don't think so. Oh, I was going to ask you why you think the Leafs can't win this game.
Never win this
They
game.
haven't won there since 2019.
They never win it. They just don't win it. It's just one of those ones that's like, I don't know if this is true. If it's at the end of the trip this time, I don't know how often it's at the end of the trip. I'd have to go back and look at that. That feels like something that's a lot of work for maybe not a ton of payoff. But I don't know if it's the end of work. It's the end of the trip. If they're tired, or the Canucks have been good. Suddenly, I don't know. They just own them. They own them in that building, and I know it just makes the Vancouver fans so happy. Good for them. I know that it's a really, really important thing to them. This is something that, we don't think about too much after this happens. It's like, they won, but they think about this all year. So good for them. They win it. They can go to sleep at night in their little rain-soaked house, wearing their, their Lululemon and drinking their Starbucks. They can enjoy that.
What's your grouse grind time? There's just nothing.
Yeah. You want to go for a jog on the seawall and then have a kale smoothie? Yeah.
Just a bunch of people that are like truly unhappy. Like,
just seen the sun in months.
I saw our guys Halford and Bruff reply to our compliments. I'm like, that's your vintage comparison with Ontario versus Vancouver. It's like, two happy Ontario guys pay a compliment. We're like, hey, good guys out there. They're doing well. And then those guys, they're little, ew, we're so tired. We got to wake up in the morning in bitter cold Vancouver. Moo cow or whatever their dorky thing that they do on that show is like sick reference going back to Simpsons 100 years ago. Dorks. It's just embarrassing. But anyways, they're just bitter. It's bitter Vancouver guys. Classic. Listen, look at their Twitter. They're every single thing is like, wow, I'm really surprised that your guys' dressing room fell apart in Vancouver. Who could have ever guessed that the fans that hate everything and are miserable all the time would have some kind of an impact on their team and they would feed off those vibes? Like, what a shocker. What a surprise.
Yeah. I watched they bring out their owner, right? Aquilini.
Yeah. Boom.
And I guess they hate him. Like, I don't know, like the history, like he was like, I think they used to hate it because he wouldn't actually fully rebuild and he wanted playoff gates and he wanted like them to like make win now moves and all this stuff. And it's just like, they all hate him out there. Of course they hate him. Like he's adjacent to the hockey team. So they hate his guts.
It's about Invictus games.
Yeah.
And like this guy's sharing something awesome and the fans still boo. It's just such a bad fan base.
Dude, imagine pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into a hockey team and you're like, your one moment you bring the Invictus games, you get to walk out with, you got Prince Harry walking out the red carpet. Be more bitter. It's amazing. Like, good Lord. And like you were mentioning how you would rather go to Calgary or rather go to Edmonton on this trip. I can promise you that the fans in Vancouver were by far the worst to Leaf fans. Like, I did that game once, and I've never heard vitriol like that at any sporting event. I've been to the south side of Chicago for a Jays game. I've been in the heat in Detroit. I've been to all like greasy places, and I've never heard anything like I've heard in Vancouver. Hey, truly vile stuff. So like,
there's a reason why they're the city that tried to burn it to the ground when they lost. Like, it's not a surprise that they're the ones. Okay, like.
Anyways,
people don't forget.
Congrats on the win there, guys. Congrats on the win.
Exactly. Congrats on the Vancouver Super Bowl. All right. Anything else from the game? Any rapid fire stuff?
Not a ton. I'm looking towards this break here, and I
got Four Nation thought.
I know. Well, you too. And you were texting me about it, and this is something that we've been talking about a lot, you and I, and the Logan Thompson stuff, and Valley coming on our show. I don't know if you saw the clip where he's just like, it wasn't going to happen and all this different stuff with Logan Thompson. Like, our goalies actually kind of stink. Like, they're not just like average NHL goalies. They are below average NHL goalies who have been bad for quite some time. Binnington's brutal tonight. Aiden Hill's been no good. Montembeault gets 5-shot past him every night. It's a problem. And this is going to rear its head. Like you talk about, their decor, Canada's decor is so good and it's not going to matter who's in net. It's going to matter. This is a problem.
Well, I think the bigger problem for me is that it's clearly political.
Yep.
Like, and
that's political. Yeah.
That's the issue. And that's been the issue with Canada hockey for like quite some time. Like, it works when we're the unquestionable best team on the planet.
Yeah.
And there's a clear divide between us and the rest of the world. But the thing about this Four Nations tournament is it's going to showcase that the other teams are close to Canada now. Like, this isn't what we left it at in 2014 in Sochi, where Canada, you couldn't even score a goal on them. And the biggest area of it's not only catching up, it's surpassing has been in net. And Team Canada decided to go political in net. They left home the three best goaltenders by far.
Yeah.
And they're going to probably start
Blackwood, Talbot, and Logan Thompson, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And Logan Thompson specifically, where it's like, Team Canada didn't even give him a call to say, if there's an injury, we're going to give you an opportunity here. Like, that's how bitter this stuff is and how embarrassing this stuff is. And I can't get over it because, the Olympics are coming up. And if you don't think this tournament matters, like I said, wait until Canada's playing the United States and you tell me that you don't care during that game. Like, you sit across from me as a real Canadian hockey fan. I made sure, so I'm flying out. I made sure that my flight is at a time where I can see the first Canada game. Like I have this like ridiculously horrific layover in New Jersey of all places, but I had to do it so that I had a flight where I wasn't going to miss any of this Canada game. I'm going to miss the USA game.
Flight?
I play at 8:00.
Okay. So you're arriving somewhere at 8 p.m.?
I'm arriving at 7:45 in New Jersey.
Wow.
So I can watch the game in a New Jersey airport bar.
Wow. I'm sure. Hopefully there's no college basketball on.
No, it doesn't matter. I'll get it on. I already looked up the network and everything. Like I'm prepared. I'm prepared. And buddy, you know me. Like I'm not exactly Mr. Quiet who's just going to sit there and be like,
no bother.
Yeah.
No, you'll get it done.
I'll move it around until I find.
You're not seeing Canada USA, eh?
No, I'm at a wedding on Saturday. There's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, I got big plans. I got Saturday night off. Canada USA, like I gotta round up, gotta get the conch out. That's a big time going out night.
I'm so angry. Like you and I kicked around the idea of doing Canada talk.
Yeah.
And I was like, why would I do that? I get an opportunity to actually like be a fan and watch the games and like have some beers. I'm not doing Canada talk. Like, sorry, you get 82 of these games.
I wouldn't mind doing Canada talk.
I will not. You can get a co-host. I won't care. Like you can do it with somebody else. I'm going to be watching with having beers. Like if Canada's in the finals, there's 0% chance that I'm doing extra work instead of having pops and watching hockey like a good Canadian. Like, duh. Not like for money, for like money, but not for, we should do it for the fans. No, eat it. Like I
love our fans.
I love them too, but we
get record. I would do it, fans. I'm not the meanie.
Yeah, you're a sweetie pie. You would do it. You would do it. You're, that word. That we use.
Sweetie pie. Yeah, nice guy.
What's the other one?
The word we use? Nice guy. Yeah, that's me. You're the big
chair one.
Which one?
Hotel chair.
You dirty dog.
Yeah. Anyways, this is getting a little slippery, so we should probably get out of here.
I got one last thing. There was a single game NHL record set tonight. I don't know if you knew this or not. But congratulations to Nick Robertson, who spent the most time lying on the ice in the history of an NHL in a single game. It was an incredible achievement for number 89 on the Leafs. So proud of him. He worked really, really hard for this, and he achieved it. So congratulations to Nick Robertson.
I still think Bunting has the record.
No way. Tonight's the single game record.
Yeah.
It was 4 times. It was 4 or 5 times at least he fell.
Well, especially I felt like I know that one. So I had just mentioned on last Leafs Talk that the only reason that people are saying that he's more noticeable lately is because he's staying on his feet. And then he betrays me by falling down.
Like that one, he didn't even get touched. He just twists down. And like the refs aren't even, he's got such a bad fall down reputation. The refs won't even look at him.
No.
They're just like, that guy just falls down. All he does is fall down. Like they have before when they're doing like their pregame, like little, dork meeting, the refs, where they're like, hey guys, let's have a good game out there. They're like 89 and white falls. He falls. So be careful. Keep your eyes on him for sure. Cause he's going to fall a lot. Don't get tricked by him. And then after the game, when they do their little beers, maybe you see that clip of them like cheersing and saying good game when they're having their pregame. Yeah, me too. They're guys too. They're just
guys being dudes.
And they're just like, good game tonight, boys. No one fell for 89 tonight. Good job, fellas. Like he is a conversation. It's unbelievable.
So we have one comment from somebody that's like, Bunkis never respects the Canucks. I mean, like, I don't know what you want me to respect about the Canucks, but I will say this. I thought for all the smoke that's on Elias Pettersson right now and the noise that's around him and whether or not he's going to get traded and he's playing Toronto on Hockey Night in Canada and he came out like a house on fire. Like he was noticeably the best star in this game, especially early on. I thought he faded. But I thought that was actually like a pretty good moment for a guy that has shrunk in big moments and was like basically the whipping boy in the playoffs last year. There's a lot of discussion about how the Canucks dressing room felt after JT Miller's departure and whether or not they felt it was the right guy that left. And I went, you know what? Good for him tonight because, that could have gone the other way in a big spot. And I don't think he allowed it. Beautiful cross seam pass on the first goal. Like
he's fine. He's fine.
He played well.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
I don't know. He played 18 minutes. He had a good pass. He ran into he makes $11.6 million. I thought he's fine. Yeah. Should have traded him 100%. Kept JT Miller.
I think they still will trade him.
They should trade him. I think like if anyone I would if I'm on an NHL team and you're like, here's Elias Pettersson, I'd be like, yeah, can I have a 2nd round pick to take that contract? Like that's a crazy contract.
I would I said it on my show already, but all I'd be doing if I was them is going to Quinn Hughes and saying, "What do you want us to do?
What do you want? Anything?
Because we can't lose you. You're a one of one NHL unicorn.
Yes.
And so whatever will make you happy, we'll let you be the LeBron of our team. Like, you're the GM. Tell us what to do. You want us to keep Pettersson? Cool. We'll keep him. You want us to move him out and restart this thing? Then we'll do that too. Like, you just be the leader here, because we do not want to make you unhappy. And we do not want a situation where you're asking to go play with your brothers."
Yeah. Just the Vancouver Quins. But yeah, no, good for him. He played good. He makes $11.6 million. It's about time.
Yeah.
Congrats,
anyway, all right. Let's wrap this up.
I clearly don't respect the Canucks.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know. I've told you I disrespect Vancouver's fans.
Either way, if we're doing respect Canucks talk, I thought that Drew O'Connor was really noticeable tonight.
Yeah,
and so is Hedel. Hedel's flying around too.
Yeah, I liked your Hedel comparison though.
Andre Kasha, he flies into everything head first.
Yeah,
he's just flying fast as he can, head down into everything. So hopefully stays healthy for them, because he's a good addition.
All right, subscribe to this podcast. Please leave 5 stars. We do love you, but I'm just not doing Canada talk. Like, none of you would do it. Like, actually, some of you probably would do it.
I'll do Sammy Cowherd. I'll just do it by myself. Sad if they lose. Drunk.
Yeah, you'll do it if you don't have to sacrifice the beers. Okay, yeah, I'll do that too. Sportsnet signs off on that. Like, subscription drunken feed from the bar. Then okay, I'll do that. Either way, go Canada, go. Prove that we're still number one. Just run that Terry Fox commercial in the dressing room. Get the boys fired up, and then
trigger warning. The tears, boys. I gotta get the Kleenex box ready. Anything Terry Fox, as you know, immediately turns me into a puddle. That commercial was maybe the greatest commercial of all time.
Yeah, but there's nothing that makes me feel more Canadian than Terry Fox. Like, nothing gets me more charged up about being Canadian than Terry Fox.
Yes,
like truly, it is the number. It's like the smelling salts for me. Of like, I'm like, I don't know how I'm feeling about the country right now. And then they're like, here's a Terry Fox thing. I'm like, yeah, exactly. So anything Terry Fox, give it to the boys. Go Canada, go.
Win the Super Bowl tomorrow.
I mean, I said my take on my show. Go listen to my other podcast.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I did all my props. No, I think the Chiefs are going to win, but I feel like the Eagles, it's going to either be squeaky Chiefs win or blowout for the Eagles. Yeah.
I think squeaky Chiefs win.
Yeah, I think so too. That's what I'm putting my money on. So,
all right. We'll see you tomorrow, buddy.
Yeah. See you at the game, or we'll see you at the Super Bowl party. And then, for all of you that have been watching, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Go Canada, go.